Hey everyone, it's Miss Velius. I am here for social studies. We are in Unit 3. Can you believe it? Unit 3 in our social studies unit, or social studies units, I guess, is the age of exploration. So we are going to talk about the idea of the Europeans coming over to the Americas. Specifically, we're going to talk mostly about North America, which involves Central America, which involves like Panama and Mexico and the Caribbean islands, and then North America, which involves the United States and Canada. Um, and the age of exploration, the age means like it's a large chunk of time, and the age of exploration is usually speaking about the early 1400s to the 1800s. And specifically this week, we're going to be talking mostly about the late or mid to late 1400s and then into the 1500s. Next week, we're going to talk about the same time frame, and then we're going to get a little bit further into the colonization in the next coming weeks. My goal for us in Unit 3 is to talk about not only just the explorers, the navigators, and the conquistadors, which are the Europeans, but also look at the perspective of discovering the explorers from a native perspective, because last unit we learned all about the different native people of North America. So what was it from their perspective when they discovered some of these men? So we're going to try to look at this from different perspectives as we go through the age of exploration. So this is the Earth. This is the Earth kind of as we know it. I have the North America and South America put in the center of the Earth, or center of our map, kind of for a reason. And when we're talking about the age of exploration, we're mostly talking about, other than the Americas, we're mostly talking about two different continents. So in our first unit, when we were looking at geography, we learned about continents, and continents are those big bodies of land, and there's 7 of them. And we've got the two Americas, Africa, Europe, Asia, which is taking over 2 spaces, and I'll explain that in a second, Australia, and then we have Antarctica down here. So the age of exploration has to do mostly with navigators, explorers, and conquistadors from Europe, and Europe is right here. Now, the Europeans, basically, they were able to explore by land first all of this area because it's landlocked. That means that it's connected in some sort of way. So they were able to explore all of the areas in Asia. So they were just able to kind of trek across into Asia. And then they were able to trek into Africa. So, but a lot of what happened with the exploration of the Americas happened because they were trying to get to Asia. Now, Asia's split, but what happened is it's not actually split. We don't have 2 Asias, but our Earth is round. And so what happens is if I take this and I fold it into a piece of paper and I connect it, they're connected kind of in the back. So what happened was this. All of the Europeans, they were doing all of this exploring, and they found all of this really great stuff in sorry, I'm getting my notes here. They found all of this really great stuff in Asia. And the wealthy and powerful people, they sponsored all of these voyages to try, because they wanted all of the control over the spices that were in Asia, the gold that was in Asia, the ivory, because there's elephants, and ivory is the elephants have their tusks, and the ivory is worth a lot, and other really, really valuable goods like silk, and in China they had all of the silk that makes all of that soft fabric. Remember, the Europeans were very into fashion. So, and the way that they were going about doing it in order to get all of this stuff back to Europe quickly, because going on land takes a long time, going about it quickly is that they would take this route right here and they would go down and around the Horn of Africa and up into Asia. So, people started saying, well, there's got to be a faster way, right? So back in the day, though, not a lot of exploration had been actually done. So back in the day, they actually thought I'm sorry, this dude right here, sorry, back in the day, this guy right here was commissioned, and this guy's name is Ferdinand Magellan. And this guy was commissioned to try to take a boat all the way around the world. And he did. He succeeded. His boats were the first boats to circumnavigate, which is a vocabulary word. It means take a circle all the way around, circumnavigate the world. And this is the route that he took. So he started in Spain, and he went down and underneath South America, underneath Brazil here, and then up and around into the islands, and kind of came in through here, Malaysia, and then in through Australia, down and around Africa, and came back. So what's cool about this dude is that he was the first dude to do this, first of all, and also he proved that our earth was round, because at the time people literally thought that our earth was flat and like that there was an end and you would like drop off of it. And he proved that it was indeed round and you could go all the way around it. Unfortunately, he was killed in the Philippines, and the Philippines are kind of over here. His boats made it, but he didn't make it back home. Let's see. But his exploration in the mid 1400s sparked the idea of getting some quicker routes to Asia. That if the world is round, we must be able to, if we don't have to go this way to Asia, we must be able to go the other way. And at the time, this is how people thought that the earth was, because, you know, they had only explored what the landlocked continents. So they thought that all there was India, Africa, and Europe. So this dude, we may know who his name is. This is Christopher Columbus. He was commissioned by some rich and powerful people to try to check it out. So he said, all right, folks, I'm just going to take Europe and I'm going to go straight to India. Well, what Christopher Columbus and the people that hired him didn't think about or didn't know about was once they set sail, they ran into this landform. And what is this landform? This is the landform that we live on. This is the Americas. So his goal then, so he went back and he landed and he went back and he said, hey, I found land and I called it the West Indies. And the people that I met there are the Indians. He literally thought that he landed in India. And he went back and they said, well, go back because I don't really think that that's what you found. So what he found was the Caribbean islands. He actually landed right there. And when I kind of zoom into here, his idea, or he made 4 or 5 trips to this new world. And his thought was that there's got to be a way through these 2 continents that we can get to Asia. Asia just has to be around the corner, right? So he never found it, but he kept going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Okay, so we've got this now map. We talked about Europe. Now, after this, all of these people started hearing about all of the really cool things that, the New World had to offer, because there's lots of really cool things in the New World. And other countries in Europe started getting in on it. So rich and powerful people started hiring out other explorers. So this one right here, I believe, is Spain. So the Spanish king hired a couple of different people, Francisco Pizarro and this dude right here. Now this dude's name is Hernan Cortes. Now Hernan Cortes is not a good dude, and we're going to learn a little bit more about him next week. But they were called conquistadors, and conquistadors is the Spanish word for conqueror. Now what do you think conquerors did? Not too much nice stuff. They conquered the land. And they made their way over into what is now current day Mexico City. So we'll kind of talk about him next week and what he did. And let's see. The next one is from England. And England hired an Italian explorer. And this guy, he's got a nice beard. His name is John Cabot. And he claimed a lot of Canada. So he went up into the northern part of North America. And he helped establish a strong English presence in North America. And a lot of what he found kind of helped the pilgrimage voyage when they were trying to escape religious persecution. So then we've got France. And France sent Jacques Cartier. And they wanted to find that Western water route. And they said, well, if Columbus, oh, here's Jacques. If Columbus can't find a route through here, we want you to try to come up through here. And he found the St. Lawrence River, which is in New York, and he ended up going in through the Great Lakes, but didn't make it any past that because, as we know, the Great Lakes kind of end here in Minnesota. So, but he did find that St. Lawrence River, and he did establish a new trade route. So, yay, Europe for finding a new trade route. Okay, and then the last one that I'm going to kind of specifically talk about is the Dutch. So now the Dutch hired an Englishman named Henry Hudson, and Henry Hudson had a really nice mustache. I'm just kidding. But you may have heard of the Hudson River. So he sailed into New York, which is like right here as well. And he claimed all of the land around the Hudson River for the Dutch and East India Company. And this is really important because a lot of the American settlement happened because of this. So a couple of really important explorers that helped kind of, I guess, establish a European presence in the Americas from a couple of different European countries. Now, these are the things that these kings and countries, so Spain, France, England, and the Dutch, were going for. They wanted gold. Who doesn't want gold, right? Gold was money, and so there was lots of money to be had in the New World. There's lots of gold. We've heard of the gold rush. We know that there's a lot of gold in Mexico. There was a lot of gold down in the South Americas as well. Glory. Glory means that they were trying to basically conquer all of this new space. They wanted it. They wanted to say, we claim this in the name of France. We claim this in the name of Spain. We claim this in the name of whatever. Because the more land you had, the more power you had. The other reason that all of these countries were trying to get people to go over and explore the New Worlds was because they wanted to have their religion there. So they wanted to bring their religions over to the New World so that they could say, like, no, this is the right religion. Let's see. And then ultimately that Northwestern Passage, because they wanted to get to all the goods. They wanted to get the spices. They wanted to get the silks. They wanted to get all of those things that Asia did have. So, let's see. Okay, so explorers sailed for God because they wanted to spread Christianity to the savages. The American or European powers were interested in developing water and trade routes, so they wanted to find that Northwestern Passage because they wanted the quickest way to trade with Asia. European explorers were searching for that Northwestern Passage, and they wanted to sail for glory to make their nations proud of them. So, what effects did exploration have on Europe and Europeans? So everything that we've kind of talked about has been mostly basically all from the European side. A lot of Europeans gained a lot of different things, particularly the French, the Spanish, and the English. So the French, the Spanish, and the English gained a lot of things with all of this new exploration. And this map right here is called the Columbian Exchange. And this map kind of tells us, let's see, I'm trying to figure out where to move myself.
Sorry, I'm having trouble.
Yeah, Siri's trying to help us out here. So what effects did exploration have on Europe? Well, Europe got a lot of things. They got all of these different foods, plants, animals, different ways of cooking. So all of these things. Europe didn't have corn. They didn't have potatoes. They didn't have beans or pineapple. Tobacco was a huge crop that they ended up bringing over. And we're going to talk about tobacco more. Let's see. because of this, though, some other things ended up coming to the Americas. So before the Europeans came over, the Americas did not have the onion or the grape or the banana or the coffee bean, sugar cane. They also didn't have some grains like wheat, rice, barley, and oats. Livestock, such as cattle, pig, and horses, all came over to the Americas. But the Europeans also brought over diseases such as smallpox, the flu, typhus, measles, malaria, diphtheria, and the whooping cough. So lots of these diseases weren't in the Americas, or we don't have any record of it coming until after the Europeans made their way over into the Americas. Sorry, I can't talk. Okay, so with all of these new things that the Europeans got, they decided that they needed to do harvesting of these things. So with this trade, you can see that we're coming from Europe, coming over to the Americas, going back to Europe. With this is what happened, and we started that slave trade, which we'll talk about more in the next coming units here. So sugar, coffee, and tobacco are the cash crops that were introduced to Europe and became wildly popular. Everybody in Europe wanted those things, the sugar, coffee, and tobacco. So all three required huge plantations to produce these crops. So the Native Americans were the first enslaved people to work on the plantations because their people were already there. Sorry. The Native Americans were the first enslaved to work on these plantations in the New World, but most of them died really quickly because of all of the diseases that they brought over. Their immune systems weren't ready to handle it, or they simply just ran away, and we'll talk about that next week. And this led to the use of the Africans that were raided from their villages and mostly done by the Dutch. So in come the Dutch again. So that is it. Super fun and exciting and uplifting end to our story about the European exploration. There's a lot of good that came from it, from the European side of it, because we traded a lot of different foods and a lot of different things like that, but they took advantage of a lot of people that were already living there. A lot of people will say that the Europeans discovered the Americas. I would like to say, and I think a lot of your other teachers would like to say that no, they didn't discover, they came across it, and they kind of exploited the people that had already been living there. So next week we're going to talk about this from the Native perspective. The video got a little long, I'm sorry, but I hope you learned something. In your Schoology, you just need to fill out a quick 3, 2, 1, and that's all you have to do. Hope you have a great day.